Joe, I'm not hearing you.
Hi, Yiscah. We're just gone live, but we're gonna start in a second. I'll start at 7 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to It Says What, where JW3 and Limmud come together to bring you unexpected and poignant Jewish content from across the community every single week. I am Joe Hyman, the young JW3 programmer, and we've got an exciting evening for you for tonight. JW3, if you don't know us, is a one-of-a-kind Jewish community center in London that's open to all. We are partnering to bring you this program with Limmud, a diverse and inclusive worldwide community of Jewish learning. A reminder that for the November lockdown, JW3 is exclusively online and still offering all of our events and our archival content on JW3 TV. This series will ask educators, artists, and leaders from across the Jewish community in the UK and abroad to share a surprising piece of Jewish wisdom for our time. You can ask your own questions in the feed on Facebook or YouTube. And if you're watching tonight, comment on our feed and say hello. We'd love to hear who's watching tonight and hear from you, our audience. I am delighted to welcome on screen Yiscah Smith, a spiritual activist, educator, mentor, and meditation guide who addresses the spiritual practice of encountering the divine spark within, the foundation of authentic living. She relies on Jewish spiritual teachings to inform and uplift her students and audiences, acting as a compass, gently guiding them to their unique inner selves. Yiscah teaches Jewish contemplative practice and spiritual texts at the Pardes Institute of Jewish Studies, at Applied Jewish Spirituality, and in her home in Jerusalem, as well as having earned a reputation as a sought-after, inspiring international public speaker. I have personally been in many a class of Yiscah's and really felt that deep contemplative practice that she shares. If you want to hear more about what she does after this, check out her website, yiscahsmith.com, or her podcast, Authentic Jewish Living with Yiscah. Yiscah, welcome.
Shalom, Joe, and shalom, everyone in the group and the audience.
How are you doing?
Great, Baruch Hashem, wonderful. Yes, I'm very, I'm excited to share this piece because when I first learned it, I said to myself, "It says what? Really? Why didn't I learn this 45 years ago?" You know,
that's what it's all about. I'm so delighted that you had that experience, and I'll ask you a bit more about it later. Yeah, we're so delighted to have you and so grateful for your time coming in from Israel this evening. It's a bit later for you than it is for us, so thank you. So let's hear what is this text that made you say it says what?
So this text is about what's called a lev mevin, an understanding heart, or heart-mind as one. So for many, the term lev mevin conveys an impossible reality, a contradiction. Even to some, it's nonsense. How can a heart understand? Isn't the domain of understanding and reason found in the mind? Actually, what may be a surprise to many, the Jewish tradition introduced this phenomenon within our very biblical and Talmudic texts. So I want to refer first to a biblical text in Tanakh regarding an event that happened with King Solomon, with Shlomo HaMelech, after he assumes the leadership over the nation of Israel. We read in the book of Malachim Aleph, the book of 1 Kings 3:5, Hashem appeared to Solomon in a dream at night, and God said, request what I should give you. I'll read it in Hebrew. Back up a little. Begivon nir'ah Hashem el Shlomo b'chalom halayla v'yomer Elohim sha'alma eten lach. Ask what you will. Many err by assuming that King Solomon, being referred to as the wisest of all men, must have asked for wisdom. In fact, he did not. Perhaps he already possessed enough wisdom to request something much more important than that. A few verses later, in verse 9, King Solomon answers, may you grant your servant an understanding heart, a lev shomea. So shomea usually means to hear, a heart that hears. Also, it means to understand. We even say in English, for example, oh, I hear what you mean. It doesn't mean we audiologically heard the person. It means we understood. So here, what King Solomon was asking of God for his one wish that would come true as a new king, he wanted to lev shomea, to judge your people, to distinguish between good and evil. V'natata la'abdecha lev shomea lishpot et amcha, lahavin ben tov l'ra, ki mi yuchal lishpot et amcha hakaved hazeh. Who could really judge your people? King Solomon intuited that he could only fulfill his divinely granted mission as the anointed king with God's presence intact and revealed if he were able to hear God's people with his heart, not with his mind. To hear the people with heart, to understand them with heart, and to judge them with heart. Okay, that was like 2,500 years ago. Now let's move to a period of time in the Talmudic time, about 1,500 years ago. In the Talmud, in Tractate Chagigah 3b, the rabbis discuss the verse that directly precedes the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, at Har Sinai, in Exodus 20, verse 1. Where it says, introducing the beginning right before the Ten Commandments, Vayedaber Elohim et kol hadavarim ha'ela. And God spoke all these words saying. Now the rabbis in Masechet Chagigah, they were concerned how we are supposed to hear kol hadavarim ha'ela, all these words. By what means are we to discern, to discriminate between two opposites as defined by the divine law? And for those who have studied Talmud, you know there are many different viewpoints, many different perspectives. Their answer is as follows. In the Gemara, this is how they answer it. Make your ears so they resemble that of a funnel, of a kesset, meaning to receive the words at once and then slowly allow them to pass through, and acquire for yourself an understanding heart. A lev mevin, ukena lecha lev mevin. So we see the term lev mevin goes as far back as Tanakh and also retaught in the Talmud. We understand from these two sources the high value that Jewish tradition places on bringing understanding into the heart, considered by most as a cerebral activity occurring solely in the mind. From this perspective, I would like to share the P.S. Essner's, whose real name was Rabbi Kalonymus Kalmus Shapira, although no one refers to him by his name. They call him he's referred to as the Piaseczna Rebbe or the Eish Kodesh. He was murdered in 1943 in Chorniki concentration camp after having lived for over 3 years, or survived over 3 years, in the Warsaw Ghetto. And he teaches on cultivating the practice of manifesting an understanding heart, whereby thoughts and feelings integrate into a harmonious blend. Have you ever felt that your mind goes this direction and your heart goes this direction, that your thoughts really do not support what you're feeling, or what you're feeling does not support what you're thinking, and it's almost like two wild stallions pulling you apart? Well, in much of Western academia, in the Western world, that's considered to be normal. But in the more Eastern approach, or within the Jewish spiritual, based in Kabbalistic approach, there is room for the mind and the heart to be one, to meet. It's a harmonious, as I wrote in the handout, it's whereby thoughts and feelings integrate into a harmonious blend. This is part of cultivating what's referred to by the Piaseczna as a higher consciousness, machshava tova, a consciousness whereby we sense the divine presence in a visceral, immanent, and palpable way. That's the goal of cultivating a higher consciousness, is to sense, not to believe in the existence, but to sense the presence. In B'nai Machshava Tova, one of the books that the Piaseczna wrote, in entry 8, the Rebbe teaches the following: we are missing two ingredients, both of which we desperately need. Our mindfulness and meditative awareness needs to be broadened and improved. Hitrachavut v'shichlul hamachshava, meaning the way we think needs to be bigger, needs to be larger. We need to expand and entertain all the possibilities. And at the same time, we need to experience inspirational awakenings and emotional openness of the heart. Hit'olhut v'hitragshut. In reality, these two become one. He's referring to an open mind and an open heart. They both need to be open, rather than a closed mind and a dulled heart. Pure mindfulness, this machshava tova, this higher consciousness, where mind and heart integrate. This depends on inspiration and fiery enthusiasm. Behitlarut v'hitlahavut, and fiery enthusiasm depends on pure mindfulness. So they're interconnected. Their existence is one of mutual interdependence. Once we are able to soften our hearts and feel emotional stirrings by opening our hearts, we already begin to think more clearly and with enhanced focus. When our minds are relaxed and alert and crisp and clear and creative, it is easier to feel deeply and profoundly moved by whatever it is we're thinking. So, in order to nurture our connection with the divine, we need to cultivate both of these: expansive mindfulness and emotional awakenings, organically as one. With this in mind, we cannot speak exclusively of working only on the mind. We also need to find ways to awaken the flame in our hearts. So he suggests, let us seek out ideas, strategies. And I know I'm running close to my window of time that's been allowed. So I'm going to jump to the bottom of this page. Our method is to start right where we are now and to rise up from there. Let us begin. And I invite all of you in the audience, begin with the emotional awakening of excitement, regardless of how mundane and the situation that gives rise to the excitement may be. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It could be you just got a raise at work. You just were able to buy a new chair for your living room. It could be something very in the everyday world. Each feeling of enthusiasm, each feeling of motivation, each feeling of excitement is a key. It's a key, a mafteach to the soul. It opens up the heart. Every feeling, feelings of utter joy, feelings of pain, feelings of confusion, feelings of celebration. Each feeling is a key. Every feeling is connected to something of this world. Every feeling that is connected to anything of this world opens a spark, a nitzotz of our soul. And our soul becomes revealed a little bit. And I'm going to jump down to the bottom of this paragraph in the words from the Song of Songs, 5:2. It's every feeling as we open up the door of the heart. Open for me, my beloved, my friend. Petrili achotai, ra'yatai. The cultivation of the understanding heart, the lev mevin, mind and heart as one, now becomes the bridge from the lower consciousness to the higher consciousness. In summary, the lower consciousness is where one may be subject to the physical demands in the world, within the limitations of the five senses, within the limitations of time and space, within the limitations of a finite aspect of being in a physical world, leaving very little chance to sense the presence of the divine. The higher consciousness occurs when one's mind does not become closed and one's heart does not become blocked. The space where instead of being subject to the limited natural forces in the physical world, one actually senses it's radically amazing, to quote Heschel. One actually senses the divine presence in the world, within and around. By realizing that this is not only when we pray, not only when we're practicing mitzvot, not only when we're learning Torah in the Beit Midrash, we can actually become aware of the presence of God at all times. Wow. Wow. Yes.
Wow. I think that's really, really beautiful. And there's so many images there, the funnel and the nitzutz, the spark, and each thought, each experience being a key to greater understanding and deeper connection to spirituality and the divine. It's just so beautiful and full of wonderful imagery. I want to ask you, before we start talking about the text itself, the thought behind it, what did it look like before you found this text, before you found this thought? What did life look like? Because there's lots of people that don't connect with spirituality or don't feel able to connect with spirituality. But it seems as though this text, your "It Says What" text, had a profound impact on how you think. So what did it look like before, and what did it look like after?
Well, I was not brought up in an observant family, a Jewish family, not though an observant family. We kept some of the traditions, but I came into Judaism in my early 20s, and I very quickly came into the ultra-Orthodox Haredi world of Chabad, and there was a lot of very kind people, wonderful people. However, I felt I was doing all the right things, but for all the wrong reasons, so to speak, because I always believed in God. I wanted to experience God. I wanted to feel that God is like with me, or that I'm with God. And here for almost 20 years, I was observing the mitzvot in a very strict way. uber, like the ultra orthodox way, very, very strict, making sure to learn Torah, every little letter in such an exact, precise way, never giving myself permission to even have my own opinion, just always like reading the sages and reading the Torah. And whatever I did, the tefillah, just read the words, read the words, read the words, make sure to show up at the minyan. It's a responsibility in the Jewish community. All the men and the women and the children, especially on Shabbat, were in the Beit HaKnesset. I was doing all of this. It was all external, though. I never considered myself either spiritual or not spiritual. I just wanted to have an experience of closeness to the divine, and it was lacking for years. So when I first started questioning more, especially I'm an educator, and I didn't feel right teaching a lot of what I was teaching when I wasn't feeling what I believed I was supposed to feel by teaching what I was teaching, almost like I was a fraud, but not wanting to be a fraud, because I was probably my biggest student, wanting to really yearn for that divine moment, for that palpable, imminent expression of the divine in my life. And I started listening to other teachers and mixing with other people. And I even left the Torah world for a while. And then when I came back, everything really opened up, because I came back as a different person. When I came back to Judaism, I came back to do the right thing for the right reasons, not to do the right thing for the wrong reasons. And that's why I believe it never really worked for me in the beginning.
Really, really, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I love this image of an understanding heart and connecting that with the mind. I think what you mentioned in your experience of doing things and not feeling them is very resonant, and I think it's very resonant with a lot of different people. I think people would appreciate hearing that. Um, I'm someone who really appreciates mindfulness, meditation, spiritual practice, and I found that when one starts that practice, when one values the breath and values accepting everything that comes in, there is a lot of space and expansiveness to feel much more, to be able to really experience life in a more open way. But for those who aren't, for those who don't connect, what would you say? What would you present as a kind of a stepping stone of how to begin to connect with this idea for those outside?
So the first thing I would suggest is try to stay away from judgmentalism. That was also part of my first 18 to 20-year experience. There was a lot of judgment, good, bad, right, wrong, acceptable, unacceptable. This is a realm that is non-judgmental. So instead of saying, I'm not spiritual, I don't know if I can be spiritual, I'm not sure I can do this, that's very harsh it's a harsh on oneself. Just be open-minded and open-hearted and leave out the word spirituality. We all have a body and a soul. So what I would suggest is, to quote the P.S. Essner in another book, just get to know yourselves. It's not a matter of importing something from someone else. It's a matter of peeling away the onion skin to discover what is inside of me. He uses the phrase lahakir otcha, get to know you. You know the song in South Pacific, I think it's in South Pacific. Oh no, The King and I, getting to know you.
Yes.
Getting to know you, right? Getting to know all about you. Well, get to know you. Sit every day, not in formal meditation. You and I, we've cultivated a practice in meditation. But what I would suggest to everybody, just give yourselves a few minutes every day, just to be by yourselves, just to feel your feelings, think your thoughts, explore your inner being, drop in to your inner being, inhabit your inner being. We all have it. We have an external aspect, we have an internal aspect. Get to know the internal, especially the way the world is now. There's so many dramatic, mental, emotional hurricanes around us. A lot of confusion, a lot of insecurity, a lot of disturbances swirling around us. There's never been a better time to just sit by oneself in the privacy and the solitude of one's own home. or going for a walk by oneself and just get to know oneself. And I'd say words like spirituality, words like the divine presence, words like being more or less religious, I would say check that at the door. Just get to know who you are. That's where it begins.
I think that's so true. Getting to know who you are in a non-judgmental way. I mean, you mentioned your experience of kind of leaving the Torah world and coming back into the Torah world, but I relate to that in some sense of working out to an extent who you are, and then returning in a way with a new sense of energy and a new sense of excitement. And I think that that's so important for people to hear right now, when a lot of people are alone, a lot of people are in isolation and finding it difficult to cope with life. And I think looking at the lens, looking through a lens of non-judgmentalism,
Very
I think,
important.
yeah, 100% allows people to feel more joy and feel more connection to a purpose. Um, I
And
love the, yeah, no, please.
I would like to just add, it's not a matter of just feeling joy. It's a matter of feeling.
Just feel, yeah.
Feeling, because sometimes there's reasons to feel sad or disappointed or betrayed or angry or frustrated. Those are also keys to the soul. That's part of the problem of growing up in a Western culture. We have almost extricated ourselves from half of our own selves by only wanting to hold the feelings that feel good. Well, what about the feelings that don't feel good? That's part of real living also. I want to feel happy and good much more than I don't want to feel bad. But if I deny, if I run away, if I flee from my own inner being, I'll be a stranger to myself. So I may walk around with a paste on smile, but it won't be an authentic experience. And there surely will not be space for me to sense the divine presence.
I think allowing for each different different experience and listening with that and learning from it is so important. Could you say more about the mafteach, the each experience being a key to this journey? What does that look like? What does it mean?
What it means for me, and as how I understand it, how I teach it, also how I experience it, is that first of all, a feeling does not define me. So I'm not afraid of it. All too often, one of the reasons many of us are afraid of our feelings is we make the mistake of believing they actually define us. Also, we don't like that we don't control our feelings. See, our thoughts we control. I can decide right now what to think about, but I can't decide how to feel. Like if I serve, let's say, assorted ice cream. So you like vanilla, I like chocolate. I can't force myself to like vanilla and force you to like chocolate. If we could both walk outside, I feel hot, you feel cool. Our feelings, because they are keys to our soul, are not within our control. That's the second reason people are afraid of their feelings. Not only are they afraid it will define them as good or bad, very judgmental. Like if I feel angry, I'm an angry person. If I feel grateful, I'm a grateful person. No, I'm a person who sometimes feels angry and who sometimes feels grateful. So what the PSS suggests and how I employ this in my own practice, when I'm sitting with me, whatever I'm feeling, he uses the phrase, I birth it, I midwife the feeling. So I visualize the feeling in front of me. Already it's not part of me. It's already outside of me, but it's a key. I give it a color. I give it a size. I give it a shape. I'm very much tuned into the water. That's my sign. I'm a water sign. So I give it a water sign. It could be, if I'm very upset, it could be rough waters at sea. If I feel very tranquil inside, it's like a calm lake. And what that does for me is it allows me to explore what's behind the door as I open up the door. And really, what's behind the door is feeling close to the divine, feeling love, Love is what awaits us, compassion, all these wonderful midot that in our tradition the sages have suggested we cultivate, they all are laying behind this in waiting to be discovered. We don't have to spend 30 years trying to be a kind person. We just have to experience that we are kind. So
Complete-
all of the feelings do that for us. They introduce to us a bigger part of who we are, the better part of who we are.
100%. I'm interested to hear about, kind of, lastly, I'm interested to hear about what community this creates, what happens when multiple people do this, and how we relate to old traditions, traditions that we've inherited, and the beautiful words of the Torah and the rabbis and various different things. How does one then go back and look at structures that may have been very, very heady and sometimes a little bit judgmental? How does one go back with that understanding heart, that open mind, and relate to those kind of thoughts and processes?
One relates to them quite differently, as I have learned to relate to them. I see them as opportunities. I also see it as a menu, like when you go into an Asian restaurant, you have 10 pages of Chinese food, 5 pages of Japanese food, 5 pages of sushi. You're not going to order everything. So you browse through the menu and you kind of pick and choose. And really, that's what we all do. I've been in the ultra-Orthodox world. I've been in the conservative world. I've been in the reform world. I've been in the renewal world. I've been in the atheist world. I have rubbed shoulders with all kinds of people, and everyone's always picking and choosing. So just be honest and say, this is a menu of all the different options. All the mitzvot are options. All the pages of all the Torah are options. All the different blessings are options. At any given time, what do I connect to at that moment? This is not a matter of taking the lazy door out, the lazy way out, going through the back door because it's the quickest way. No, it's really being serious with oneself enough to allow oneself to make decisions for oneself. This puts the responsibility of our own Judaism on us. We become responsible. And what it does for us is it helps us be compassionate. And it's so much more easy. It's so much easier to connect to other people because the bigger part of me is connecting to the bigger part of them rather than the small part of me trying to connect to the small part of them, which doesn't work because the small part of me can't connect to a lot of people, but the bigger part of me can, the realm of possibilities, not probabilities, the non-judgmental part of us. And Reb Simcha Bunim, who passed in 1824 in Poland, he says it very clearly. The way you know that you're not becoming self-absorbed with spiritual practice is if you begin to see the divine presence in others. So the more that I work on me without becoming self-absorbed and driven only by ego, if what I'm doing is that, then less and less people will seem to me like they're created in the image of God. This one's wrong, this one's this one's not enough. But if what I'm doing is really cultivating spiritual practice to sense the divine in my life, then I see it in you. I see it in the nature, in my garden. I see it in my cats. I see it without even trying. It's just evident. You see the world through a different lens, a lens of softness, of gentleness, of connection, of closeness. Isn't this what we want?
I definitely do, and I think that the world could benefit from so much more softness and that space to delve into oneself. I love seeing it as an opportunity. Each mitzvah, each tradition is an opportunity to learn more about oneself and learn more about the world and beauty and the divine. Thank you, Yiscah. It's always a pleasure to learn with you. I look forward to learning with you in person soon and checking out lots of the stuff that you're doing online with your podcast, Authentic Jewish Living with Yiscah, and seeing your website, yiscahsmith.com. I've seen lots of great stuff on there. Get your newsletter. Everyone else should also sign up for that because it's really enriching and is a kind of something solid to hold on to in a time of very much lots of turmoil and instability.
Yeah. And soon also it'll start, I'm launching it during the week of Hanukkah. Every Thursday I'll be guiding a virtual sit. People from all over the world will come together in the Zoom room. I'll share a short little teaching on the Torah portion, Parshat HaShavua, and then I'll provide a guided meditation in quietude, and then we'll have some sharing. So that's a way for your listeners, for all of you that are listening, to get to know what what spiritual practice, what contemplative practice is in the comfort of your home and in the privacy of your home. And you can even shut off your video so no one will even see you.
Amazing. I love that
Although it's nice to see the faces. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the open invitation, and our viewers tonight and whoever watches throughout the week, take it up, take an opportunity and see what happens if it's something that you're interested in. And for everybody else, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Tomorrow.
Shabbat Shalom, Joe, and to everyone else. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah.
And join us next week with Benji Stanley on our penultimate week of It Says What. We'll have 2 more weeks left. It's been a long journey of unexpected texts, but watch out for what's next at JW3. Check out our website and all our programs. Have a wonderful evening and good night.